Welcome back everyone to another episode of Obscure Skills Made Playable. And if you guys like this series, make sure you drop a sub so we can show more Path of Exile players that these skills, even though they're not played, they are still perfectly viable. Sometimes even good even. But yeah, I think I'm gonna skip at tier 16. Most builds these days can run tier 16s, right? This build is a little bit slow, but it is much more defensive than I thought it would turn out. And okay, let's see what we have. I don't really want to run curse effect reduction because we do have 2 curses. But as long as there's no giga damage mods, or maybe like stuff like minus max res. Okay. So the all monster damage can ignite, freeze, and shock. That's a little bit scary. I already ran one tier 17 with all of these, and the shocks do make a difference. So let me just put on this. Generally, you want this. It's pretty good. Fizz is the weakest link of this build, I think. Well, actually both are kind of okay. But let's try running this. This map isn't too crazy. The impale is actually pretty bad. Let's see. Because I did run another. I already completed a couple of tier 17s on this build. It was Ziggurat and Abomination. But one of them had impale, and the other one had the ailments. Both of them felt bad for different reasons. I'm not dealing damage sometimes, but it's fine. I think the damage is okay. Even without, like, the regular mobs, you don't even need to release the final wave. The ignite from the skill itself is usually enough to kill the mobs, non-rare ones. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, the mobs are just dying. And yeah, my gems aren't leveled either, as per usual. But the build is a bit slow, so I'm using a Quicksilver. Without Quicksilver, you're kind of just strolling around, waddling. Okay, so I guess it's upwards. But I used all my Quicksilvers. And we are pretty tanky when we're stationary, especially, well, right now I had to take the shock instead of physical reduction. But we are pretty tanky while stationary. And I remember I played the Ziggurat, and well, the Ziggurat didn't have any damage mods, but I was just face tanking Katarina while channeling, because I do have a bunch of good stuff going for me when I'm channeling. So as you can see, the mobs are dying fairly fast. It's just that the build itself is a little bit slow. Right. And there's, I think, endurance charges or something in here. Oh, there's power charges. Not here, upwards. So the map isn't anything crazy mod-wise, right? It's just the impales can be a little bit scary. Like this, when there's 20 mobs around you and you can't deal damage 3 out of 10 seconds. Sometimes it does add up. But so far it's not a big deal. We're doing pretty good. It's just gonna take forever to waddle back because we're so slow. I do have 3 flame dash charges, but still. And it's not like I can use shield charge because we're using a staff. I'll show you guys why I'm using a staff. Well, it's obviously primarily just damage, right? But we'll go over the items in the tree after hopefully I kill the boss. No damage. I'll drop a TP just in case we die again. Didn't. The mobs from Ether that shoot a lot of projectiles, they can be a little bit scary. I have died to those mods even in a tier 16 map actually. Well, the map was like 200% as extra and increased monster damage, so it was totaling to around 300, but fact of the matter is, fizz attacks can still hurt. Alrighty, let's see the boss. So hopefully it's not gonna be too bad. Let's go with let's go with Maligaro first. We do have a pretty cool Arcanist brand setup, along with all the curses themselves are just your standard stuff. One guy is already dead. Let's try to get Shav. We do use 2 curses as well as Flame Surge, so there's a couple of buttons to press against bosses, but that's perfectly fine. You know, you don't need to press them that often. I do have more duration linked on both the Arcanist brand as well as the curses, so whoop, that was scary. Alrighty, let's see how this guy goes. I do not like that. I don't want to stand in there. Don't want to stand in there either. Oh, that thing hurts. So, this map wasn't really that bad, right? There's like nothing on here. We are crit immune, so the power charges I could ignore completely. Crit mods you can ignore completely. So this build does have some good qualities. It does struggle a little bit against physical damage, especially when there's a lot of it really fast. So let's go over maybe let's go over the items first. So this staff is primarily just because it was cheap and had decent damage numbers. I bought this for like 80 chaos. Of course, a +5 staff is going to be much better. I think it's around 30% more damage. I checked in the pub, and depending on how you roll the suffixes, with maybe more fire damage or fire.multi-crafted even, you know, you can probably get around 50% more damage in total. But of course, that is around 30 divines, maybe a little bit more depending on the suffixes. So, of course, I took this. I wanted to make a cheap build, as per usual. This whole build cost me 30 divines, and it can clear tier 17s. Depending on the mods, of course, but we do have a couple of good things going for us. So Cloak of Flames with this, we have some fizz damage reduction. Our auras are Flesh and Stone, Malevolence, Arctic Armor, and Vitality. So obviously, since I am channeling, Arctic Armor makes sense. It's not leveled completely yet either, but it's fine. And you know, we have so many multipliers on while standing still. Especially if you take this one, oh, not this one, this one as well. Although generally you don't really want to be standing still for 3 seconds at a time, but even those 3 extra percent is still a little bit something, right? Ralokesh for more defenses and offenses, of course, makes sense. That's kind of why we're so slow. But you do need a little bit of energy shield. Cloak and Ralokesh, they give like nothing, so I had to go with a hybrid armor set with decently rolled prefixes, although I was prioritizing life. So as you can see in here, this is mostly just life crafted on the armor and energy shield. This one also life crafted on armor, energy shield, and life. You only need around like 500. You don't even need 600. Around 500 if you also manage to roll increased energy shield recharge, then you can probably, like I did in here. So right now with 600, as you can see, my energy shield is never running out, and I'm never gonna be channeling this long, right? So you can do with less. You could probably go with even 1 hybrid item rather than 2 as well, for a little bit more armor if you want, or maybe even ward. Up to you. Polaric Devastation, of course. Ash is good, right? The ring is just Chaos Res basically, and Dex. I do need 102 Dex if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 3, I don't know. But I was pretty tight on Dex. And I do need to have more strength than intelligence, which is a little bit rough to do. So I had to get 2 from here. You know, alternatively, if you have an open suffix somewhere, you can craft it on there. This is for rational doctrine, because we are using rational doctrine, as you can see. But yeah, Cloak of Flames with +2 makes sense. If you do get a +5 staff, you don't need that. You can actually get a crit reduction Cloak of Flame and then drop this useless shield, useless belt. Right now, the only reason why I have it is because the reduced extra crit. But you know, with more currency, you can make this build much better. Maybe even get ailment immunity somehow. Not sure how, but up to you to figure that out. Ailment immunity would be nice. Yeah, so the items I think are pretty self-explanatory. Of course, Dragon Fang, generally good on most spell builds, right? Whispers of Doom for 2 curses, because they are giga good, and they also increase the duration of Ignite as well, if you quality them up. I did do that for once. I actually qualityed most of my gems this time. So, because, well, the numbers look good in POB, I thought, you know, why not? Let's give it a couple of extra divines, you know? And when it comes to the passive tree, so I have a bunch of recoup. That's partly why I can just stand there and channel the flame. Recoup helps. We have also 1k region while stationary. 900, pretty close. Oh, we have a bit more with this. Yeah, almost 1k with this. But you know, depending on the map, you might want to change it, or depending on your items, whether you fix the other problems, right? We're getting, of course, extra exposure because we are inflicting exposure with Elementalist and getting some big negative resist, right? I am using Forbidden Flame and Flesh as well for Shaper of Storms for more damage. Doesn't, like, the hit doesn't have to be good. It's always at least 15%. And I do have a bunch of things like Unbound Ailments, right? So I think my shocks are like 27% if I'm not mistaken. And it scales really well because it's always at least 15 and then it gets increased with the support gems as well that are linked to my main skill already. So it's pretty good. Convergence for some extra elemental defenses, right? Not convergence, the Primal Aegis. Rational Doctrine, as mentioned. The mods or whatever, but if you are lacking decks, maybe get a couple of decks in here, because I actually had to get 16 on here, and then, as you can see, I also used Attribute Catalysts on here to get the decks that I need. Although right now I only need like 99. I think this is the highest gem, but if it's maxed out, it's going to be 102 or 3, I can't remember. In POB I have it. But Elemental Overload, since we have some power charges, we do crit, so we're actually making use of it, and the hits themselves from Incinerate, the spell hits pretty fast, so I am making use of the Elemental Overload. In here, we had to avoid being stunned. That was one of my early iterations, was using this, which was not as comfy as it is right now. Of course, we are still getting constantly stunned when we're walking around, but as soon as we start channeling, we're good. Some more nodes. Oh, maybe I'm gonna close the items. Lethal Pride is how I'm getting the last 20% crit reduction. So here and here, of course, if you do drop the belt, you can even get something other than Lethal Pride. Although it does have ignites, you deal 10% faster, right? So they are pretty good, and also burning damage. So kind of makes sense to go with Lethal Pride, but you could focus more on the offensive if you do end up with a +5 staff and crit reduction, Cloak of Flame. And you drop this for maybe a Stygian Vice, even maybe some cool mods from Shaper or something. I don't know. But there's room to improve, right? Even damage-wise, you can get plenty more damage. I think you can probably have 2x damage of the build if you push it. And right now, with everything aligning, convergence, burning round, and elemental overload as well, the DPS is around 8, maybe not 8, maybe like 7 million if I'm not mistaken. But you know, much life, much regen, fast recoup, always good, right? And Forbidden Flash, Forbidden Flame. for the shocks. Already mentioned that. Auras are fitting in nicely. Also, make sure if you do go for Martyr of Innocence, make sure that you socket your auras in here, because that's the only thing you can socket in here, because it's linked with Battle Mage's Cry. Initially, I was bamboozling myself, trying to socket in Flame Dash and Steel Skin as well, and I was just like, why the hell can't I cast this? But anyway, socket the auras in here. If you do end up with some more reservation, and you want to grab something else as well, maybe Determination could be pretty good, but I'm not sure how that's happening, but maybe you can figure it out. I don't know. Determination could be pretty cool. But yeah, these are whatever. You could even go for a spell cluster and get some spell block even if you wanted to, because I am getting 10% spell block from these. It's pretty cool. You know, it's my only source of spell block, but I guess, you know, sometimes it procs Whispers of Doom, because both of these are very good for Ignite. The quality, of course. Well, the -30 and -32, it's also pretty good, and this goes up to 35. So yeah, this is the tree. Grab a bunch of this one is not mandatory. I just grabbed it for some extra cast speed because I wanted to. Same here. I grabbed the cast speed on the helmet, even though it doesn't have to be cast speed. Could be whatever else, maybe flammability effect, or I don't know, damage per power charge. But yeah, this is the tree. Works well, and it's actually kind of cool. I like the skill. The skill is really cool. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. There's plenty more builds to come. Plenty more of silly looking skills that no one's ever seen. So again, make sure to drop a sub. And that is it for today. Talk to you later. Bye bye.